What's going on, everybody? The Monday morning. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Having my little cup of Joe and my Michael Myers mug. Looking forward to Halloween Ends coming out in October. And if you can see by my eyes, I haven't been really sleeping very well. And I don't know if you guys will see it, but the beard is growing even more now. I'm getting a little bit more of that bearded thing, the big Kev mania coming at you, brother. The fact of the matter is, dude. I was kidding. But everybody, I hope everybody's having a great weekend. Everyone had a great weekend. Monday morning's here. Some of you workers, if you ever seen the movie Office Space, hope you ain't having some of the case of the Mondays. But there's a lot of talk coming out of the pro wrestling world. This is a new show that I'm kind of teetering with called Wrestling Hard Knocks. Um, Basically, this show is basically going to be me being uncensored, unfiltered, not giving a shit what anyone else or anybody else thinks about what I think about professional wrestling or what I think about a product or what I think about a wrestler. This is just me being me. So we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna get into this now. Um, so the first topic at hand is let's just get the monkey off the back, shall we? Let's get the monkey off our back. The whole CM Punk thing. Last night, AEW had their all-out pay-per-view. Punk ended up beating Moxley for the AEW championship. And afterwards, MJF came out, had the mask, came out. Looks like he's challenging CM Punk. Well, they have a thing on AEW where they do media scrum or media they take little interviews with with the media afterwards. And so afterwards, CM Punk got pretty raw about not only his past friendship with Colt Cabana, but he went raw not only just on Adam Hangman Page, but he went raw on the AEW EVPs, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Um, they, I guess, said some stuff or I think they were friends with Colt Cabana. They were blaming Punk for the reason why Colt Cabana got fired from AEW. And CM Punk can say all he wants that he didn't have the quote unquote power or stroke to do that. But just looking at Tony Khan sitting next to you, Tony Khan is stroking your fucking ego. He's going to give you what you want. If you want Colt Cabana gone, he's going to give you Colt Cabana gone. So for Punk to come on there and say something like that was asinine. It was a lie. It was a bullshit lie. And then he said that he has to deal with kids, that Tony's making him face people who are kids. And then, I went back and I watched the Dynamite promo between Adam Hangman Page and CM Punk. And apparently CM Punk saying that Adam Hangman Page went into business for himself. But let's call this a spade of spades. CM Punk is sitting there claiming that he brought the blueprint. That there wouldn't be no AEW if there wasn't for CM Punk. CM Punk, you walked out of professional wrestling in 2014. You took your ball and you went home. And then you decided that you were going to dip your toes in the UFC and you got your ass kicked. And then you decided, I'm going to do a little bit of comic books and I'm going to go and do movies. And then you decided to be on that show that the guy that used to do Arrow had that was professional wrestling. And then you decided to dip your toes in it. Now, You came back as a WWE Fox analyst. Let's face it, you were hoping, and CM Punk can lie. But ladies and gentlemen, Big Kev is a good bullshit detector. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clarify it right now. If any of you professional wrestling fans think for one fucking second that CM Punk, when he was in WWE as a Fox analyst, that he was hired by Fox, which is true, he was. If for one damn second, if you think for one second that CM Punk wasn't hoping that WWE would roll out the dough for him to come back, you are living under a fucking rock. Of course he was waiting. He was hoping that Vince would open up the checkbook and have him come back in there. Are you fucking kidding me? Well, there's a reason why they didn't want to deal with him. And I think now AEW's starting to realize that Moxley's calling him out on it. MJF's calling him out on it. Adam Hangman Page is calling him out on it. CM Punk doesn't give a damn about anyone but CM Punk. Now, there's a lot of CM Punk fans out there. I'm friends with some people who do like Punk. And I do want to like Punk. I really do. It's not the fact that I don't hate CM Punk. It's the fact that I think he's a complete fucking asshole. He's a douche. He's coming in here. He's not coming in to make AEW better. He's doing whatever he can do to benefit the brand of CM Punk. Now, some of you can like it. Some of you may not like what I'm saying there, but honestly, in a lot of cases in professional wrestling, sometimes you have to look out for number one. So if CM Punk is a brand, and that's him, Phil Brooks is CM Punk. CM Punk is Phil Brooks. So if you're the same guy, then you need to get yourself out there. You need to make sure that your brand is the number one brand that you got. Now, people don't have to like it. People don't have to do what you want. And there's a lot of people that do like Punk, but there's a lot of people that don't like CM Punk. Personally, I think he's an overrated piece of trash. That's just me. I know I'm probably going to get some hate for it, but that just comes with the territory because pro wrestling fans don't want to hear the fucking facts. They don't want to hear the truth. And that's the problem right now. People don't want to hear the truth. People don't want to hear it. You want to know why they don't want to hear it? Because the truth sucks. The truth, you hate it. You want to hear it, but you don't want to hear it. And let's face the facts. CM Punk, since he's been back in AEW, what has he done besides being a two-time AEW World Champion and been in a really good feud with, Page, and the Moxley match was pretty good, and MJF. Besides that, then the hell and the Eddie Kingston thing. But besides that, what has CM Punk done for AEW? AEW's ratings are still going down. They can go around and tell you otherwise, but AEW's ratings are going down. And some of us who, like me and the Prodigal Hill and others, who have told you, some of you, over and over and over and over again, that this AEW ship that you're talking about was going to do this. And a lot of you did not want to believe it. Well, some of y'all have this problem. I watched the 83 Weeks podcast of Eric Bischoff. I know some of y'all are probably like, Eric Bischoff's an AEW hater. No, Eric Bischoff is speaking facts. What is AEW? Even with all these signees that they've signed, all the people that they have signed. And now, the guy formerly as Aleister Black wants to leave AEW and has asked for his release, but Tony Khan won't give it to him. MJF is wanting to leave, won't give it to him. And you want to know why Tony Khan won't do that? Because he is scared. And the next person I'm going to call out is Chris fucking Jericho. Now, I love Jericho. Jericho has reinvented himself over the years. He's one of the very best in this business. And I usually don't have any qualms about Jericho. I've met Jericho on two occasions. Cool dude. Nice guy. Great guy. Great guy to have a story with, sit around, talk to, and everything else. But I saw an interview that he did. I think it was on his podcast. I'm not sure. Please, in the comment section, if you see this later, you can correct me. I'm not going to get pissed about it. But Chris Jericho came on there and got pissed over an interview that Triple H had, where Triple H kind of downplayed AEW. And AEW. Now, there's some people who were on the AEW bandwagon on YouTube. Yes, some of you on here were on the AEW bandwagon, and y'all were saying, well, AEW beat NXT. NXT is the third WWE show. Ha. None of y'all didn't want to admit that, and none of y'all, and Chris Jericho included, doesn't want to include that NXT actually beat AEW 10 times during that whole entire equation. But let's look at the rosters. NXT at that time had Tommaso Ciampa, Finn Balor, Karrion Kross, Samoa Joe, Johnny Gargano, Austin Theory, and a couple of other guys. What did AEW have? Oh, Moxley, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes at the time, Sting. They just re-signed. They just signed Sting at that point. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait, hold. So when Chris Jericho comes on here, and yeah, Triple H was kind of downplaying the whole AEW thing. This is the difference now, because Triple H is in charge and creative of Raw and SmackDown. He's got a bigger roster selection now, because now he gets to play with. That is recent. Rumors are they re-signed Braun Strowman. Now he's got Karrion Kross. He's got Roman Reigns. He's got Drew McIntyre. When Cody comes back from the injury, Big E's going to be coming back from injury. Randy's going to be coming back. You got Seth Rollins. You got Matt Riddle. You got Gargano. You got Ciampa. You got all these guys now coming into this equation. Now Triple H has got this big brand with Mysterio, Finn Balor, Edge, and all these guys. Well, now he's got all these little collections with him. That's a little different than NXT versus AEW. And some people don't want to admit that. Everybody's like, "Well, AEW, hey, NXT was that third show now. NXT was the third show for WWE. They tried to go up against AEW and blah blah blah." Facts. Yes, they did. They decided to go up against WWE. However, look at the roster AEW had compared to NXT. And that same, you would, honestly, with that roster, I was expecting them to be NXT all the time, but apparently NXT snuck in some 10 wins there. So, I mean, you guys can go ahead and say about the whole algorithm and the whole, demographic and all that bullshit. But actually, there's a guy named Chris Vant that I like watching I like watching some of his stuff. He come up with a really good scenario. Instead of counting the TV ratings, you should count your Twitter views, the Facebook views, the YouTube views, and everything, and then add it all together to see what views really are in professional wrestling. Because most of it now are like internet, or mostly internet videos. And mostly everything watches on internet. People stream. So people are not over there clicking that channel like we all used to, flipping back from Raw to Nitro and all this other stuff. So now that whole thing is over. You have to be more of a correct thing than to go from that direction to this direction. However, there's a lot of motherfuckers out there, and there's a lot of people who are like, like Chris Jericho. And let me clarify something from Mr. Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho and Triple H have this love-hate relationship they've had for years, ever since Jericho was in WWE when he first came in. It's been a love-hate relationship for a long time. So now that Vince is no longer in charge of WWE, I guarantee you, if AEW went under tomorrow, Chris Jericho would be knocking on the door of WWE going, "Let me back in, please. Let me back in, please." And I guarantee you that would happen. And if Chris Jericho says that wouldn't happen, he's fucking lying. He's lying to the rest of you and lying to all the other professional wrestling fans out there. Facts. You don't think for 1 second that most of those guys from AEW wouldn't leave and go back to WWE. Now that Triple H is in charge, a guy like Aleister Black, a guy like Miro, former Rusev, you don't think the guys like him and Keith Lee and a couple other guys wouldn't be like, well, shit, we need to go back now. Triple H is in charge. Those boys would be packing their bags quick and down the road. Now, some people are like, well, Kev, that's not fair. WWE's been around for 50 plus years. AEW's only been around for 3, 4, 5 years. That's not fair. Life's not fair. But you know why I have a huge problem with AEW? Because when I look at their product compared to WWE, yeah, thank you there. Malachi Black was requested his release, but was denied recently. My point in case, because Triple H loved Aleister Black in NXT, and that is something I think personally. His wife's there. Yeah, thank you very much on that one. I appreciate that, bro. But yeah, his wife's in WWE. Selena Vega's in WWE. That's his wife. So, people want to say, well, look at that. Who's another guy that left AEW recently that was really good in NXT? Oh yeah, he was part of the. He was a part of that group with Adam Cole. He just left NXT. He just left AEW because he wasn't getting he wasn't getting stuff that he was needing to get. As a matter of fact, let me find out what his name is exactly again. I want to make sure I'm not going to say this the wrong way here, but alrighty. Make sure I was saying that correctly. Bobby Fish. Yeah, Bobby Fish was the guy who just recently left AEW because he wasn't getting enough attention. And that's the thing, too. When I look at AEW, there's 3 guys that I really like. I like Adam Hangman Page, I like MJF, and I absolutely love Darby Allin because they are homegrown AEW talent. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they did screw him. And I know that Adam Cole went to AEW because, he's married to Britt Baker and most of his friends are there. But you cannot deny. And, and it's funny. We're on a Facebook group. A couple of guys on there, Mitch and Michael Miner, both all are up on AEW's ass, and they see the NXT Worlds Collide, and they're like, that's okay. It's okay. Well, it's better. Well, you know what? It's better than seeing 15 Canadian destroyers. Everybody's doing super kicks now. Everybody's doing these whole things. The one thing is, too, is that AEW, ever since Tony Khan became a booker, AEW has went down even more down that line. And it's not just I'm not just seeing it. Everybody's seeing it. Tony Khan needs to stick to basically opening up his checkbook and let people who know what they're doing write the shows. Facts. Because if he thinks he's going to outwit Triple H in the creative department, he is gladly mistaken. Because Triple H has been in this business for 20 plus years. He's done it as a wrestler and as an executive. Tony Khan is only rich because his daddy was rich and owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was a wrestling fan. You see the difference with a guy who's actually been in this business and knows how to create talent, and then the guy who's just a wrestling fan, who's basically a male personal cheerleader to all these guys. There's a complete, huge, big difference between the two. And I hear from Nate the Effing Great, I hear from Michael Carr, and a few other guys who actually just like professional wrestling. They just like the shows. They like watching MLW or Impact Wrestling or NWA and AEW and WWE, but they get these. You got these wrestling fans who feel like you need to choose. Like you have to get on the bandwagon of AEW or WWE. I don't have to do shit, and neither does anybody else. That is correct there, PK Valerie. Yeah, about 30 to 30 plus years of Triple H. And I'm sitting there thinking, and you guys honestly think that Triple H, you honestly think that AEW, that Tony Khan is a better booker than Triple H? Woo! I laugh at that comment because don't get me wrong, AEW's got a lot of talent. Do not get me wrong. There's some things with AEW that I do like. But I was getting back to the fact of wrestling fans shouldn't have to choose on which brand they like. They should be able to like what they like. Back then, I liked WCW and WWF and ECW. So I didn't sit there and be like, hey, I have a favorite. I'm a WCW guy. And there's some people that were more WCW than they were WWF, or more WWF than they were WCW. I get that. But you got these wrestling fans out there now who feels like you have to fucking choose on who you want to be or which one you like. Oh, well, if you like WWE, then you're a mark. You don't understand. You don't. Let me tell you something. Tony Khan doesn't know the difference between a wrist lock or a wristwatch. The guy is a goofy, nerdy son of a bitch. And the fact that he's allowing the inmates to run that asylum in AEW, we know what happened the last time you let a group of wrestlers run that asylum. WCW, you let those guys run that asylum, and look what happened. History is repeating itself, and some of you who are just pro AEW, you're probably not going to like this video, and I don't give a damn. You can kiss my ass and lick my balls for all I give a damn about. I'm just stating facts here. The facts is that Tony Khan and AEW are nervous. Once Triple H became the head of creative in WWE, and he's the head of Raw and SmackDown, look what he's doing on Raw now. People are saying, oh, they're not going back to TV 14. Look what they're doing with the Matt Riddle, Seth Rollins thing. You know, now they're bringing out these unexpected. Now when you watch Raw and SmackDown, you're expecting the unexpected. Like, who's going to come back? Who's going to debut here? Who's coming this way? And it's just that. So you got these And the one thing is too is Triple H is allowing these wrestlers now to speak what they want to speak, let them be who they want to be. And I've always said that once Vince McMahon left, Vince McMahon, you can say what you want about Vince McMahon, and some people don't like him because he got rid of the territories. And there's a couple guys I know here who love the territories. I grew up watching the territories. I grew up watching territories with my dad, so I understand a little bit of that negativity towards Vince. And people can say what they want about Vince McMahon as a person, but you cannot deny his contribution to sports entertainment and pro wrestling. That's something that a lot of people don't seem to understand. You cannot deny that. As much as we all don't like what he did personally, and personally, I think Vince is a piece of trash. But business wise, he didn't become who he was just by twiddling his dick. You know what I'm saying? He became who he was because he's Vince McMahon. He knew the right time at the right places to do stuff. And some people can say, well, Vince McMahon only got big because he put the belt on Hogan at the right time. Yeah, Hogan was the right guy. Right time, right place. But, I'm looking at the WWE now, and I'm looking at their NXT roster. I'm looking at the NXT, and, Shawn Michaels is now in charge of NXT there. Another great wrestling mind, Shawn Michaels. So now you have Shawn Michaels out there doing stuff for NXT and all the NXT roster. And then I see Triple H building up the tag team division, which is looking very good, because if he builds up that tag team division, not only in the men's part, but in the women's part, now you start to kind of see the pieces falling that you need to see. Now, I saw the interview with Triple H. He mentioned the people are asking about Bray Wyatt. Now, the rumor is that Bray Wyatt has been offered to come back to wrestling, but his own promotion and stuff like that. Triple H pretty much said Bray Wyatt is one of the most creative guys in this business. Annoying, but very creative. So, I honestly think if Bray Wyatt, whenever he chooses to come back to professional wrestling, it's not going to be with AEW. And I know a lot of people are like, well, there's still hope. There's still hope. No. It's not going to be with AEW. It's going to be with WWE. Because right now, WWE is bigger globally. People who don't really watch professional wrestling, they know what WWE is. They don't really know what AEW is. As much as that must hurt for some people to hear, that is the actual facts. I have cousins, I have family members who don't watch wrestling, but they know what WWE is. They know who, they may know who The Rock is, or Roman Reigns, or John Cena, or something like that, but they don't watch professional wrestling. They don't even really know about AEW. And there's a reason for that. People are like, well, and I know some AEW fans are going to come in here and they're going to be like, well, it's better than what WWE's been giving us in the last couple of years. Hey, you know what? WWE was struggling for a long time under Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon not realizing, not pulling the trigger on certain people. I was a big Cesaro fan. I love the fact that they're pulling the trigger with him in AEW. I wish that he would have had more. I wish he would have had WWE title run in WWE. I really do. But just think about it for 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. If AEW closed its doors tomorrow, do not think for one solitary second that all those WWE guys that Tony Khan signed, that they would not sign back with WWE, or they wouldn't remotely think about the idea of going back, because they do. Right now, Tony Khan's not wanting to lose anybody. He don't want to lose anybody because if they go straight to WWE, he knows Triple H is going to make them a star. You can say what you want. He's going to make them a star. Regardless. If Jericho can leave. There's a couple guys on AEW who I think if they left, if AEW closed the doors, they'd be okay. Sting is one. Sting can go wherever the hell Sting wants to go because he's Sting. He can go wherever he wants to go. CM Punk could probably go wherever the hell CM Punk wants to go. Chris Jericho is another. Daniel Bryan is another. Bryan Danielson, he could probably go wherever he wants to go. But I guarantee you, not everybody in AEW has that luxury to do that. So if AEW closes doors tomorrow, I see Keith Lee going back. I see, Malachi Black, Aleister Black going back. I see Rusev, Miro going back. I even see Christian going back to WWE. Believe it or not, I see Christian going back. So some of y'all can just say what you want about AEW. Now, this whole CM Punk thing that I was speaking about earlier, I personally still believe the CM Punk is an overrated son of a bitch. That's just me. I think Punk is a very overrated wrestler. Great on the mic. But see, here's something for you Punk fans. CM Punk was good in the ring. No doubt about it. Let's see what did P say here. So PK Bauer said if AEW closed shop, Jericho, Danielson, Punk, Sting, and Christian could hang it up and be set. Yep. The Bucks and Omega would go back to Japan, and the rest, who knows? Absolutely correct. Now, I think Britt Baker and Adam Cole would go to WWE. I know that's a little weird to say, but I think they will go back. Now, the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson are thinking about the possibility. They're teetering about going to New Japan or WWE right now because right now WWE is a hot commodity. Look what Triple H is doing since SummerSlam, what he's done with WWE, and it's going to continue to keep getting that way. I know some people are like, "Whoa, Drew McIntyre didn't beat Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is still champion." Let me just say this much. There could be a person who they really want Roman Reigns to drop the title to. And I think once Monday Night Football and NFL starts back, which they start back this week, yep. I agree with that, Adam Cole. Once the NFL, which it starts this week, once the NFL starts getting really, really, really packed full, I know the USA Network wants to have their own champion and Fox wants to have theirs. I could see something happening where Roman Reigns, they do a storyline where Roman Reigns has to drop the title, drop one of them. Probably the WWE Championship back to Raw. So Raw can have a champion. But at the same time, though, right now it's kind of exciting because I haven't really watched Raw and SmackDown in a very long time. Now I kind of watch now just to see what the fuck Triple H is going to do next. It's that to me is very exciting now because whether you want to like Triple H or you don't, him and Shawn Michaels are both two of the smartest minds in this business. With one in charge of NXT and the other one in charge of Raw and SmackDown creatively, If I'm AEW, yeah, I would be nervous. Now, this whole CM Punk thing, let me go back to that real quick. Punk was great in the ring. He's great on the mic. But let's just say this much. Punk really didn't get his big start until he sat there and held WWE for money and did a pipe bomb on Raw. You take away that pipe bomb from CM Punk, is CM Punk that big or relevant that he is now? You take away that pipe bomb. Is he still big or not? Now, I actually like Punk when he was a heel and he had that little group with him and Gallows and that Serena girl. I actually thought that group was pretty cool. I actually liked it, actually. Believe it or not. I thought some of Punk's best work was that. You know, when he was actually world heavyweight champion. That was some of Punk's best work. Now, I have to say, I like his feud with Eddie Kingston in AEW, and I like his feud with MJF. MJF is one of the best pound for pound professional wrestlers out there right now. Yeah, Straight Edge Society. Thank you there. Thank you, PK. I had a brain fart for a minute. I had to think, was it Straight Edge? I knew it was Straight Edge something, but I didn't remember the name. So I thank PK for telling me on that one. Yeah. So, I actually liked his, when he was Straight Edge Society with him and Gallows and Serena. I thought there was, I was digging it. I was liking it. It was something different with him and Punk. Different for Punk. This whole thing with CM Punk, people can say what they want. He can claim that WWE misused him as far as these injuries go, and maybe they did. There's only one big reason why he left WWE, and he can lie and tell nobody else. He's mad because he never got a WWE WrestleMania main event. But to be fair, at that time before Brock beat Taker, the undefeated streak was just as important, if not more important, than the heavyweight championship and the championships. So, in WrestleMania 29, you're going up against The Undertaker for the streak. Yeah, you weren't in the title match with The Rock and John Cena, but you're still in somewhat of a main event. So, technically, he did get his main event. If you want to clarify that, he still got it. But yeah, when Punk came back and he was a part of that Fox group with Renee and Paige and all that. If you don't think for one fucking second, if Vince would have called him up and been like, hey, how much is it going to take for you to come to WrestleMania and face Seth Rollins? If you don't think for 1 second that CM Punk wouldn't listen to that, you are gladly mistaken, because CM Punk is about CM Punk. CM Punk is a brand. He's about this. Now, I remember him going on this tirade and saying, well, I'm set for life. I really don't have to be wrestling and stuff like that. Your career at UFC went, you're not really making it big in acting. You're not Dave Bautista. You're not John Cena. You're not Dwayne Johnson. So you needed the money somewhere. So he can lie and claim that he had all that money set aside, but let's be real. Punk's back for the money. He ain't back for the thrill of the fans. He can give two flying fucks about the rest of us. He's back for his own benefit. You can tell the wrestlers who really are back because they love the fans and they love this business. CM Punk does not really love this business. To me, he don't. He comes off as a guy who's self-entitled, a little self-entitled prick who feels like that everything that he's done in this business is bigger than what Stone Cold's done, what Hulk Hogan's done, what other bigger names have done. The fact that he came out and tried to say, "Well, me and Adam and Daniel Bryan signing with AEW is just as big as Nash Hall and Hogan going to WCW." Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really? That's just how arrogant that motherfucker is. It's just it's a there's one guy in AEW right now who deserves to be world champion, and that in my eyes is MJF. That man deserves it. He's a homegrown talent of AEW, and I feel bad for these AEW guys like Adam Henman. I feel bad for these AEW guys because all they kept doing, they keep signing these WWE guys over and over and over and over and over again. And it's like Tony Khan's giving them more than he's giving any other people. So I can understand why MJF is pissed. I can understand why people like Adam Henman Page and John Moxley is pissed. Why Eddie Kingston's pissed. Now, apparently, Punk's got a little bit of a problem with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Honestly, I'm really not a big fan of the Young Bucks. I'm not really a big fan of Kenny Omega. I mean, I'm tired of seeing the Super Kick Central. And it's not just AEW. They're doing it on every fucking promotion. It's the Super Kick Central. It's like when the Rockers, when Marty Jannetty and Shawn used to do it, it was cool. Yeah, he is a friend. Yeah, I mean, I watched a little bit of MJF when he was on MLW and other indie wrestling promotions, and MJF was killing it then. So MJF really doesn't need AEW. When his contract ends in 2024, if you don't think for 1 second Triple H is not going to be like, "Hey, come on over," look, I mean, they can say what they want, but look what they done with Cody Rhodes before Cody Rhodes got hurt. Cody Rhodes got to keep his look, got to keep his music, he had special privileges when he came back to WWE. So now it's showing other people, wow, if Cody can get that, so can I. And it's like we go back to the Super Kick thing. Marty Jannetty and Shawn, when they used to do it back then, it was cool because you're like, wow, never seen the Super Kick before. And now it's like every person does it, from Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler to Kevin Owens to the Young Bucks. And everybody's over there doing the Super Kick. It's like the Canadian Destroyer. The Canadian Destroyer is a fucking cool ass move. But when you see a bunch of people doing it, it loses that magic. When you see a cool move like the End of Days that Baron Corbin does, or when you see like the Razor's Edge that Scott Hall used to do, those are cool ass finishers that barely, if any, got kicked out at all. Like Victoria's Widow Peak, still never got kicked out of. Yeah, Vince was more strict on things because he didn't like certain words being used and he didn't like certain things being said. Triple H is like, I don't give a fuck. Let's do it. Let's get going. I think Triple H did a great thing in his interview. He played it off like AEW was not competition. And it must have pissed off Jericho, but then again, Jericho and AEW always come out and say, well, we're not worried what WWE's doing. We're not focused on what WWE's doing. Fuck you are. Yeah, you are. You're focused on what they're doing. If you weren't focused on what they're doing, you wouldn't make the comments that you make. So when I hear that kind of bullshit, I'm like, come on. You know exactly. You know exactly what they're doing. When I hear Tony Khan say that, now people may not like Eric Bischoff, but I love Bischoff. I like his interview. I like his podcast, 83 Weeks. Some people think he's an AEW hater. I think the whole thing was because Tony Khan sat there and said, well, if I was running TNT back then, if I was running WCW, they would have never went under. At that time, though, what he doesn't realize is there's a lot of TNT and TBS executives that didn't want professional wrestling on there. So, and when they got switched from TNT to TBS, it's really hurt AEW. And people don't want to admit that. People don't want to talk about that. But yeah, that's exactly what's going on. It's hurting them personally. I mean, when you sign so many people, you're not really giving the other chance. You're not giving the other promotions chances. Like, I like to see Impact Wrestling get some free agents. I would love to see MLW get more free agents. I would love to see NWA Power get more free agents, because it would make professional wrestling even better. Because now you would have AEW doing good, you would have WWE doing good, you would have all these other promotions doing good, and professional wrestling could be back on that slide that it was years ago. That's just me personally. I believe that if they had a chance to do that, it would be back. You know, it would be back, and that's something else too, because wrestling's changing, whether we like it or we don't like it. Wrestling's changing. Wrestling's going to change for the next 5, 10, 15 years. It's going to keep changing, because there's really nothing PK Vower, or any other wrestling fan can do about it. It's going to keep changing. And the thing is now is that there's no really one big star in wrestling anymore. The last big star in wrestling right now is Roman Reigns. He's the last big star probably since John Cena. Roman Reigns is that only last big star. Now I think what professional wrestling companies are doing now is they're doing it as a cohesive unit. Like, well, let's push a lot of people instead of having one big person you ride on that wagon with. They're changing it around. Now they're not just depending on one person. They're like, well, you look at WWE, they got AJ Styles, they got Bobby Lashley, they got Drew McIntyre, they got Karrion Kross now, they have Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, The Miz, Edge, Rey Mysterio, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Walter, Gunter, you want to call him that, Sheamus. You have all these guys now. They're all depending on a group effort instead of just being one or two, three big guys. They got all these names now, and AEW is doing the exact same thing. But I will say this though, and you guys can tell me in the comments later on, but who do you think right now in professional wrestling, not wrestling back then, but wrestling now, that you think is the most overrated person in wrestling? As a tag team, to me, it's the Young Bucks. I think they're very overrated. They book themselves to make themselves look good. That's why they're EVPs, and they're trying to make themselves look good. But I think the Bucks are overrated, and I think CM Punk's overrated. But those are my two. That's my two picks on who I think is overrated. But we'll see. I think AEW needs to really start building more on their women's division. And I think that that's something slowly that needs to happen for AEW is to get their women's division even better than where it's at. Um, because I will say this much: Impact at WWE's got a better women's division than AEW does, hands down. Now WWE can start getting that tag team division back up and running, like they're slowly doing. Now WWE could be ahead of AEW as far as tag team division too. So there's a couple of little things that can happen coming up now. I know some people are gonna be like, "Oh my God, Kev's a WWE mark. He likes WWE over AEW." No, I just love professional wrestling. Period. And I'm tired of hearing some of my friends get attacked over liking more than just one promotion. Since when does it say in the professional wrestling fan handbook that you have to like more, that you have to only like one? If you like WWE, you can't like AEW. Fuck him. Who says I can't? Who says if I like WWE, I can't like Impact Wrestling? Who says if I like WWE, I can't like MLW or NWA Power? Who says if I like AEW, I can't like WWE? There is some real, and it's gotten worse too, even on TikTok. And I know PK's on TikTok too, so he may understand what I'm talking about here. But there's some really toxic and hateful motherfuckers on TikTok who talk about wrestling and they don't really, and they go after women fans. Most of the women, there's some women TikTok girls out there who know their shit in professional wrestling, and they're getting attacked because they're a female. That to me pisses me the fuck off. That I'm like, yo, you got a woman who loves professional wrestling, who knows what she's talking about, and you're attacking her because she's a woman? What kind of asinine fucking shit is that? You know, that to me is, regardless, I've been like, dude, she likes professional wrestling, man. What? That's a good ass bitch. Why would you care? I wouldn't care. I'd be like, all right. There's only one person on TikTok, and I don't. You guys can follow her under. I think she's called Weezes. She's this blonde hair girl. Now, I know if her and Kayla ever met, Kayla would hate her because she basically thinks that this girl Weezes thinks that Kenny Omega is a better professional wrestler than Shawn Michaels ever was. Now, when she said that, I almost fucking lost my shit. I was like, are you kidding me? You're saying Shawn from Michaels in his prime and all the stuff that Shawn's been through, you mean to tell me that Kenny Omega is better than Shawn Michaels? I mean, there's some crazy shit on TikTok, and it's not just with wrestling; it's also with NFL sports too. I'm just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. And you know, there's some people who are really, now there are some friends of mine who are WCW fans. Who were WCW fans, like Big Rim, Juggalo Gamer 85. He was a WCW guy because he was a Sting fan, and he hates hearing that every wrestling fan now talks about how, oh, Austin and Rock, and they don't ever really give WCW enough credit as they should. Um, and I agree with that. That's a really good analogy. You know, a lot of people don't give WCW guys a lot of credit for the stuff that they've done. But I'll be honest with you, I'd rather watch, and this is really going to hit some people. What do you think about? What do you think about Chris Benoit as a person? Doesn't matter. But I would rather watch a Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle match than to watch a Kenny Omega or a Young Bucks match. Because at least then they're technical wrestling, they're telling a story, they're being physical, and they're doing moves. They're not trying to do all these acrobatic moves. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin has come out and admitted it, and I'm with him on this. You need to save your shit for the pay-per-views. Stop using all these goddamn moves on Raw, SmackDown, and Dynamite and Rampage, and don't use all these big action moves. Save this stuff for the pay-per-view. Make it more exciting. Don't be sitting there trying to rush into everything you're doing because you're not telling a story. I will say this though, WWE's got a better production team than AEW. WWE also kind of tells the story better than AEW does. They do more now with Triple H in charge, obviously. This whole Matt Riddle, Seth Rollins thing has been great. That little mic thing that happened with Drew and Kevin Owens on Raw, perfect. Right down the middle, where they need to be. They need to let these wrestlers be who they want to be. They brought back Kevin Owens as that prize fighter. I love the prize fighter Kevin Owens. I hated this Kevin Owens that they had there for a while. Now he's back to being that prize fighter. Sami Zayn's doing some of the best shit that he's ever done. And I'm just telling you, you're gonna see a momentum change. Now here's the thing. Samoa Joe's been on AEW, but what have they done with Samoa Joe? I know Triple H loved Joe. And if I'm Samoa Joe, I'd be like, dude, I'm going back to WWE, man. Because I know at least I know Triple H is going to push me and is going to book me in the stuff that I need to be in. Whether you guys like it or not, I'm just stating the facts. This is the first episode I've done. I'm going to start bringing some more guests on here for, Wrestling Hard Knocks episode 2. We're also going to be doing the Undertaker bio coming up. I know that PK and Nate were with me on the Ric Flair and the Sting one. We'll probably try to get a little bit more people in for the Taker one because it's Taker. You can't mess that one up. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna start doing something with Taker. Also, I've been talking to the Bell Witch. We're gonna do that tarot card reading soon. I would like to try to get it in this week, so we'll see what happens then. But nonetheless, let me know in the comments below what some of you guys are thinking. I welcome all positive and negative comments back. So be warned, if you say something negative, be warned and I will say something back. But this is Pro Wrestling Hard Knocks episode 1. I'm Big Kev for Big Kev's World. Like, share, and sub. You see that little skull? You see that little skull on the video when you're sub to me? Click on that. Get all your notification needs. And for now, I'm out.